Welcome to the world of cinematics. Today we're going to be going through our favorite DC movies. And first we're actually going to start off with Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. So it's been a tough one to think about as far as what is my absolute favorite DC movie. We're talking more strictly DCEU this time, but there's still quite a few good ones to choose from. For me, currently, I would have to say it would be either Aquaman or Shazam. I find that both are really good. And leaning more towards the Aquaman side, it follows the hero's journey a lot more efficiently. And I've always been a fan of kind of a loner, learning that he has a responsibility and decides to enter into this different world and decides to do the right thing, even though at first he might have been selfish, or at least in his mind, selfless. And he learns to work better with people around him. And Jason Momoa is always a win. He's a very charismatic character, and at times does carry the weight of the film on him, but that's not very often because it's a pretty great movie overall.
Yeah, I remember when I was first in theaters watching Aquaman, and it's not the very first scene, but it's towards the beginning. There's a sequence where a shirtless, sweaty Jason Momoa walks through smoke and steam in slow motion as an electric guitar riffs in the background, and he looks over to someone and says, "Permission to come aboard?" And that was the perfect sales pitch to me, because I'm like, okay, I'm on board. This is, no pun intended, I'm on board. This is, is this going to be Citizen Kane? No. Am I going to love this? Absolutely. If you don't love that sort of thing, it's probably not going to be for you. But if you just listen to that, 2 or 3 sentence pitch, and you think that this is going to be the coolest, most fun, absurd thing in the world, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really great.
I just really like Jason Momoa.
It's true. Aaron, when he saw the Snyder Cut trailer, he saw Jason Momoa, he went, yeah, baby, or something like that. So, yeah, he has a special spot in his heart.
Not quite as much as strawberries, but
Hey, leave me out of this.
Leave that out of this.
But no, he's a good actor, and I think that he does a great job. And I'm sad that Amber Heard and whatnot is ruining their chances for an Aquaman 2. But as long as Jason's in there, that's all I care about, really.
And technically, Aquaman 2 is in early production. They haven't started shooting yet. They could still recast her or write her out, although at this point, it doesn't seem like either is likely. Mm-hmm. Although it's not super hard to recast someone. You can do that on a dime's notice.
I mean,
so there's still time to change.
Look at Marvel. They did that for War Machine.
Yeah, they did that for War Machine. They did that for Hulk.
Yeah.
Heck, they did that for Thanos.
Yes, they did.
Actually, with Hulk, it's more of oh yeah, there was another one, wasn't there?
Right?
Totally forgot about
true.
it.
I mean, they recast Red Skull. I mean, you can't really tell because of the makeup, but, there's been some talk of...
Wait, they recast Red Skull?
Yeah. Yeah, in Infinity War and Endgame, he was played by... I think his name is Ross O'Donovan. He's an actor as well, not as big as Hugo Weaving, but he's very famous for being a good impressionist, and so they hired him to do the job since Hugo Weaving, while he was under contract, they could have brought him back. He had very publicly said, "Look, I enjoyed my time on it, but I don't want to go back. It's just a lot of hassle putting the makeup and prosthetics on." And so they said, "Okay, you didn't want to come back, so we won't make you. We'll just get some other guy who will be happy to do it." And he, it's almost impossible to tell.
Meanwhile, Gimli's like, "Who are you to talk, Elrond?"
That was less makeup. I'm pretty sure that's how he wakes up each morning. He just is like, "Dang it, I have to cut my hair again."
Yeah, I was thinking of the actor for Gimli. He's just like, "Why are you complaining about putting on makeup? I was allergic to mine."
Yeah, that's
I
true.
should put mine on.
Yeah, like the Wicked Witch of the West, having her makeup, the chemicals in her makeup react to the red smoke, so that every time they did that, she was literally being burned alive. And her reaction to it was, yeah, it's kind of the job, you know. You sign up for it, you know.
Show business.
Yeah.
I saw Stefan shaking his head when you were mentioning it.
Yeah, it's kind of a terrible story, but you know, back in the day, they're like, either you get hurt or you're dead, and that's just part of the game. And it's like, jeez, wow.
Sounds like the stuntmen for the Asian culture.
Right? And we don't have that often these days anymore. But if I was to talk about my least favorite, it would have to be, out of the ones I have seen, it would have to be Suicide Squad.
I'm going to interrupt you there. Are we doing least favorite today, or are we doing that next week?
Let's do it today. Just kind of, you know, so that you can hear kind of from each of us, you know, back to back, you know, what we sort of like and what we don't like.
Okay. So, sorry, Aaron. I wanted to make sure we weren't...
Cut me off. I knew I was only here for my looks. Don't care what I think.
Consider
it's fine.
Zack Snyder's
Yeah, who else would we make fun of for their looks?
Yeah. Well, you did have Jed, but
Yeah.
no. But before I was rudely interrupted,
Yeah,
I was
Stefan.
yes, Stefan. I was gonna say Suicide Squad so far has been my least favorite out of the ones I have seen. I haven't seen all of them, but honestly, not very good. It had some moments that were pretty fun, but overall, I wasn't very impressed. No character really had a lasting effect on me. Maybe Diablo, but that was just because he actually had something to do and had more of a backstory that was interesting. The music choices were good, but not in that film. It was fun music, but, you know, I would have to say I have more fun watching the action scenes in a Transformers movie than I would in this current Suicide Squad movie, so not a very good film.
The music-wise, just to go off of what you said there, it kind of felt like, well, not kind of, it very much felt like they were, you know, inspired by what Guardians of the Galaxy did with all these popular rock songs from back in the day. And they're like, all right, what if we pumped our movie full of classic rock? Which, you know, that can work. That can be really good. It worked in Guardians. It worked in Guardians Volume 2. It can work in other movies. But they didn't really try and make it something that, you know, worked with the movie itself. It was just, here's a famous song, here's a fun song, all this stuff. But they didn't really try and do the work to make sure that it flowed with the movie they were telling.
Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of notifications on my computer. I'm trying to mute them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've never seen Suicide Squad, and I never got tricked into watching it, so I feel pretty good about that.
There's always time. We could always, you know, Clockwork Orange you and strap you down, make you watch it.
Put some eye drops in there.
Ha! I'm over in Nampa. You can't. Yeah, I haven't seen it either, and mostly because like all the reviews I've heard of it, I'm like, why bother seeing it at this point? I know what you guys are gonna say. How can you make an opinion if you don't see it? Well, that's just it. I won't make an opinion of it.
Well, I don't necessarily think I don't necessarily think that's fair. I think that, you know, you can't make a fully informed opinion about it, but, you know, the whole point of reviews is to kind of get an idea as to whether or not you think it'd be a good use of your time and money. You know, if I'm going to go buy a car and I go and listen to whatever the car salesman says, then, you know, they could charge me $100,000 for the world's crappiest car. It's good to go out and do your homework and kind of get a sense of like, oh yeah, these, you know, this is what I'm looking for in a car, and these cars, you know, kind of look at this instead of that. So if you looked at the reviews and what people said and said, you know what, I don't think that's for me, I think that's entirely fine.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jed. Is, you know, I haven't seen the live action Aladdin, and I might never ever do so. Not because, you know, I didn't ask people on both ends of the spectrum, you know, those who did like it, those who loved it, those who were kind of like, it was okay. And for myself, I just know in the back of my mind, all I'm going to be thinking is, I wish Robin Williams was still alive to do it. And, you know, and that's my personal bias against it, you know. And You can have all these other complaints, but I'd rather go see a movie, whether it's poorly reviewed or greatly reviewed. I'd rather just go in there for myself and decide, okay, I like this, or no, I didn't like it. Not be influenced too much, but a little influence is going to happen regardless of what happens.
I guess for me, just because everyone was talking about it, I just ended up losing interest. And I was like, I don't really feel like watching it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me,
plus, I really like 30 Seconds to Mars. Jared Leto. I don't want.
There you go.
Don't want to do that.
Right.
For me, I never had an interest. I thought it was because I looked up, okay, what is the Suicide Squad before it came out? And it basically said, oh, well, they got Harley Quinn in. I said, stop right there. I don't care.
Oh, that was not what I was expecting you to say. I think it was like, stop right there. I'm sold.
I'm sold.
No, actually,
let me in.
I've been a critic of how they've handled her. Maybe not her mannerisms or her voice or the way she looks. That's all well and good. But it's how she's portrayed. She is an abuse victim. Sorry, you Joker, Harley Quinn, shippers or whatever say they're the best relationship ever. No, they're not. They're terrible. She's terrible. The Joker's worse. And I think the best way to portray that character is take the film Whiplash, the one about the drummer, and make that Harley Quinn, and then the coach is the Joker, right? Mm-hmm. So, for me, they've never really done the character justice, the way that she was originally portrayed. And they tried to be Guardians of the Galaxy. These are bad guys. Guardians of the Galaxy, they're jerks, but they're good guys.
They're not very good at being good guys, but they are good guys.
But they do it not because they've got a little thing that's going to blow their heads up. They do it because it's like, it's either that or we let a planet blow up or something like that. Suicide Squad, don't care.
Didn't they actually say something like that in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, basically.
But we're good a-holes.
Right.
Well, why would you want to get involved with this? It's the universe's problem. Because I'm one of the idiots that live in the universe, It's the same kind of idea there. Is it based on a selfish need? Yeah, but, it's still helping everyone else out. And they don't really get paid for it. They just get a ship repaired, which was nice. But considering they saved an entire planet, that's not very much.
They don't run off with their degenerate, insane boyfriend at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very big difference.
Only to break up off screen.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's another one I haven't seen, but I'm sure I would have hated it too.
Never heard of it.
It's a movie that just came out last year. It's see if I can remember the full title. It's Harley Quinn. No, it's Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of one Fabulous or Fantabulous. It's fabulous. Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now, because I remember Brendan and I were like, oh, our kneecaps when we saw the trailer. Yeah. Which, by the way, folks, if you want to hear more about kind of our thoughts for Harley Quinn, I think we talked about her in our
Bad Guys
episode,
yes.
Right?
Yep,
that's right.
So if you look up on Anchor .fm, we talk about poor written bad guys and well written bad guys, and Harley Quinn was one of them that we talked about. And then we had a what if on how we could change her into a good
character that we liked more.
Yeah. A character that would be more enjoyable.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking for. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
I would say enjoyable, entertaining,
more entertaining,
more compelling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something that's not like, wow, this is a really terrible character, and I kind of want to watch something different.
Yeah.
So, check that out and subscribe. I had to throw that in there. I keep forgetting I keep forgetting we need to throw in like some sort of subscription.
Right.
Doodad.
Yeah, smash that like button,
Oh no, Jed! No, I wasn't gonna go
there. For crap's sake, you do that again, I'll kill you. We don't do that here.
But he's right. He is right.
Yeah.
Just don't say it.
You just can't say it like that.
Yeah.
Jed's my fall guy. He'll do it for me.
That's true.
Anyways, yeah. So, do we want to move on to the next favorite,
Sure.
least favorite?
I can go next. I think out of the current DCEU movies, my favorite, it depends on the day, usually between Shazam and Wonder Woman. I think that I will go today with, oh gosh, it's hard. I think I'll go with Shazam. To me, it was kind of a perfect throwback to what superhero movies used to be before Nolan changed the game, before the MCU changed the game. It was just a guy who has superpowers, who's struggling to, with problems in his own life, problems with, his life as a hero, trying to learn what it means to be a hero, not just as a guy with powers, but as a guy personally. And it really worked for me. I loved that David F. Sandberg, the director, threw in little splashes of horror, but for the most part kept it not just kid-friendly, but almost something that works better if you are a child, and, that partially was inspired by the fact that our hero is a child with the ability to become an adult, but partially, I think it's just, like, you can bring a kid to an Avengers movie, and they're going to be fine, but it's not a movie that's made for them. Shazam is something like, hey, you're going to grow up, and here's some lessons about what it means to grow up, all these different things. But you had great casting. Zachary Levi is great as not only a hero, but you watch him in just about anything he's in. He's somebody who, his inner child shines out all the time. He was perfect for this role. Mark Strong did a great job as Dr. Savannah. He was, intimidating and scary, but he wasn't one note. You could see why, this tragedy that had happened to him as a child, the awful relationship with his father and his brother, how that had made him into who he was. While he wasn't the greatest comic book villain ever, he really worked for not only the story, but as a foil for our hero Billy, who also had a terrible, terrible childhood, but has used that as, the catalyst to become something better, to do all these things that weren't done for him. I also love how, this whole time he doesn't feel like he needs a family because his real family is out there somewhere. He's going to, he's waiting for them, he's going to move on. And the moment that not only helps him resolve that emotional arc at the end, but also, physically, literally save the day, is he gives power and takes power from having this new family, this adopted family. This is, he's putting behind that anchor that, was waiting for his mom and says, no, these guys are my family. And in doing so, they become the Shazam family and they're able to save the day by working together. It was a great way to work in the themes while also having a, creative ending to a movie we don't usually see. I mean, could you imagine like an Iron Man movie where it ends with all of Iron Man's friends being able to suit up, but also it not coming off as corny? It worked. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I got to agree with that. I think it's a very good point. It's a very fun movie, and what I love about it, as well as the things that Jed was talking about, is it's a Superman story at the heart of it. We went over this in our previous episode, but just to touch up on it again is, the reason that a superhero is good and that we want to be like them isn't just because they give into their selfish needs. Sometimes they do.
Like wish fulfillment.
Yeah, a little wish fulfillment. And that's okay, because they're still human, but it's when they use their abilities, these powers that they're given, to help others and become a family, specifically in Shazam, that it becomes more than just a superhero story. It becomes a story for the ages. And that's one of the reasons that I like it. I think it's why it's in my top 3.
I think, for myself, I was most impressed that they pulled it off at all. Because it's such a ridiculous idea that a little boy turns into a full-grown man. And I was very worried that it would be too much like Big. They often reference Big. But Big has a very awkward and, in my opinion, gross things that happen in there that I don't want to discuss on this channel. But
yeah, that's a weird scene.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say that I didn't want that to happen in this film. And gratefully, It didn't. And they pulled it off. The actor for the kid did a good job.
Yeah. All the kids in it.
Pretty much, yeah. And then, as was said earlier, Zachary Levi as Shazam, perfect casting. It's pretty amazing that any of that worked. So I went in there thinking, this could be fun or it could be really, really dumb. And it was fun. And it wasn't dumb. I enjoyed it. And I would agree with what Jed said earlier, that it feels like what superheroes were, kind of like a Spider-Man film. Maybe not Spider-Man 2 in that sense that there's a whole bunch of problems, and problems kind of outweigh the villain. Mm-hmm. But it did have the problems, and it did deal with the personal issues. Like, you won't see that sort of thing in a lot of superhero films today. They're not dealing with thinking about where they need to live or where their mom is and things like that. So I was just impressed that they pulled it off so well that it was good entertainment. Mm.
Could you guys adjust your camera just a little, like point it down? Got the singing heads over here.
Is this better?
It's like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, all I'm saying is this.
Happy haunts will socialize.
How about you, Robert? Have you seen Shazam?
No,
Shame on you.
Shame.
Hey, I have been so busy doing all this stuff.
This is fair. You're a very busy man.
You're a very busy man. So
don't give me that. You don't do anything.
It's funny. So one thing I was actually thinking about this. I am very much a TV show guy. Like I don't mind movies, but I like TV shows. I just like binging. It's kind of what I do. Not food. I don't binge food.
Like, as much as I will love to shame you for not seeing Shazam, it is indicative that not a whole lot of people saw it when it came out. I
did want to see it. I did really want to see it, but I got caught up in so
many
other
right.
things. And not to mention the movie theaters closed down. And
right. Fortunately, they didn't spend a lot of money on making the movie. It was fairly inexpensive as far as superhero movies go. But yeah, not a lot of people went to go see it. And so, I guess I'll kind of pitch this to any audience members who haven't seen it. There is a scene in this that, while I don't think fully encapsulates the movie and all the themes and emotions of it, if I could pick one scene to show to anyone to say, hey, this is why you should see this movie, it's when Shazam is learning to use his powers and he doesn't know all of them yet. There's a training montage of sorts where he is experimenting and one of his foster brothers is like videotaping and saying like, oh, you should try this, try that. There's a bit where he uses his super speed to essentially drink 1,000 Dr. Pepper cans, and then he looks down, he needs to run to the bathroom, so he runs into this public restroom, and you just see from the outside is like, oh, where's the zipper, where's the zipper, where's the zipper? And then you hear, Shazam! Lightning strikes the building, you see a man run out, trying to put his pants on as fast as he can, and then Shazam! Boom! Lightning strikes again, comes out, up, once again fully in the suit, he's an adult, smiling, ready to go.
Yep, and that is one of the best scenes.
It's something none of us mentioned. It is a hilarious movie.
Yes, absolutely.
See, I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to watch it, is because I know Shazam as a character. He's a kid.
Yeah,
he doesn't take things too seriously.
No,
and so
there are serious moments, but for the most part, I think it's the DCU's funniest movie.
And there's a comparison between him and Peter Parker, but let me just say, Billy Batson is more of a kid than Peter Parker, at least in these current films.
Absolutely.
Because Peter, even in his Homecoming movie, he's still trying to be, do good services and things like that. Whereas Billy Batson has to learn to get to that level.
Like, there's a scene where he's trying to earn money, where he, turns into an adult so he can excuse himself from school, goes outside, sets up a little stereo playing Eye of the Tiger, and he's shooting lightning in front of a crowd going like, hands, lightning with my hands, and they're like, oh, that's cool, we'll give you money for that. And so he's, for a lot of the movie, not using his powers for the best things. I can't really see Spider-Man doing something like that.
No. I mean, he
No,
does.
that's because he's not Bully McGuire.
That's right. I was going to say, Bully McGuire does go to the wrestling tournament. But
Right.
once again, he isn't flashing about it. He's just trying to earn money to impress a girl.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that is a little childish, but
But he's not showing off.
exactly. He's with a mask, so you don't know it's him.
Mhm.
So, more humble.
And then I'm trying to think about what my least favorite DCEU movie would be. If I had to say, I think, not because it's the worst, but because it's the one that disappointed me the most, it would probably be Batman v Superman. Because, while Man of Steel isn't my favorite DCU movie, it's up there. I loved it, and I was so excited to watch Batman v Superman. And I remember sitting down to watch it for the first time. It was actually with Robert, and that opening scene was incredible. We've seen the Waynes die 1,000 times. We don't need to see it again, but when we saw it, it was one of my it might have been my favorite version ever. And then watching as Bruce Wayne is in Metropolis, as it's being destroyed by Superman and Zod in their final battle, which, Superman was doing all he could, but when we see from the little man's perspective running around through those streets, all that death and destruction, all of a sudden, in one moment, I'm totally on board with Bruce Wayne. I'm like, sure, let's not kill Superman, but man, there need to be consequences. The sucker's got to pay. And then the movie almost immediately fell off the board, and I don't know what happened. I watched the Ultimate Edition later, and it does fix a lot of the movie's problems, but not all of them. I don't think Jesse Eisenberg was good casting for Lex Luthor. I think that there were a lot of plot threads that, while fleshed out and made better in the Ultimate Edition, just didn't need to be in there in the first place. Lex Luthor's plan was overly complicated, and I love complicated plans in superhero movies, but this was too far. And the whole idea of him saying, you know what, I don't trust people who are in power, because of, my relationship with my dead abusive father and how I, wanted God to help me, but, he didn't, so I believe there is no God, so I'm going to try and take down any potential gods in my life. That works for me. Until you say, okay, now I'm going to create this evil monster who's the most powerful being in existence, at least that I'm aware of, to try and kill Superman just because I don't know if Batman is going to kill him. Not a great plan. And it doesn't fit with his backstory, his motivation of, I don't trust power.
Yeah.
Just, it's a mess.
See, I kind of liked, who was it that played Lex Luthor in Superman Returns?
Oh, Kevin Spacey.
Good luck getting him.
Yeah.
You have to find him first.
Right, no one knows where he is. No, Kevin Spacey did do a great job. And if you listen,
space?
if you listen to the lines that Jesse Eisenberg has in Batman v Superman, they're actually really well written lines, and they're lines that, if you had someone else, if I, close my eyes and try and imagine, say, like a Clancy Brown saying it, or like a Bryan Cranston, saying like, the oldest lie in America is, Senator, that power can be innocent. You're like, okay, I can buy that. But he's like, you know the oldest lie in America, Senator? That power can be innocent. I'm like, you're like a spastic Ben Shapiro. I don't buy you as Lex Luthor.
Get out of the way, nerd.
Yeah, I just imagine someone bald and old.
Yeah.
Like
Lex Luthor.
Like Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, actually, he'd be good.
Because Lex Luthor is supposed to be incredibly charismatic, and, you look at him, and the whole public is supposed to see, is supposed to overlook everything evil he's done, because, look at him. If you cast Tom Hanks to play Lex Luthor, I could buy that.
Yeah.
But casting, the guy who's like, okay, so, what was I saying? I don't buy him as an evil genius.
Sorry, I immediately imagined Tom Hanks. I gotta save Martha.
Yes, Forrest Gump would not be. Yeah. No.
Well, and kind
the
of
only man
just
faster than the Flash and Superman. Forrest Gump.
Just to talk about even further, especially on the Jesse, I do agree that weird choice. Having reviewed it in my mind, it kind of makes sense in that if Zack Snyder or whoever was in charge of casting was trying to create somebody who's the physical opposite of Henry Cavill,
Sure.
and kind of that same charismatic, the opposite, where he has no charisma at all, then yeah, that's the first person you'll think of, or one of the first people you'll think of, where he's not physically intimidating, he's not very quick to thought, just like me, and he stutters a lot, and that's okay, but we have grown past that. We're not at that point with Lex Luthor anymore. We're at this point where he can be a physical intimidation. He can do martial arts, and he's very eloquent in his speech, and he is brilliant. And that's something that none of those qualities appear to be with Jesse's performance. And, there's some line deliveries that I actually do enjoy. I like him getting angry at Superman and talking to him face to face. I actually enjoy that scene quite a bit because of that dynamic of the two. But it's not what we're used to. And, maybe 10 or 15 years from now, people are going to say, oh, that was the best way you could have done Lex Luthor. But for the rest of us, we're going to be like, we wish Kevin Spacey didn't make the decisions he did.
Yeah, because even if you look at the different depictions in movies of Lex Luthor, I still think we have yet to get our iconic Lex from the comics. We have a guy from the 70s who had his big plan was a real estate scheme. You have Kevin Spacey, who I think was better, but at the end of the day, it was again a real estate scheme.
Yep.
And then you have Lex Luthor, who's Mark Zuckerberg with worse hair.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate that casting so much. It's so wrong on every level. It is not Lex Luthor. How did the guy who cast Ben Affleck as Batman,
yep, in the same movie,
physically pretty much perfect, and Henry Cavill,
Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman,
perfect. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman,
and he cast Jason Momoa.
How did you screw up Lex Luthor? I mean, it's not that difficult. Now, if it was an act. Let's say Bryan Cranston comes in and he's like, I don't know what I'm saying, I don't know what I'm doing. And it turned out it was an act.
And then behind the scenes we see...
he's really brilliant, it turns out. Yeah. And he planned everything along. And he's like, and even if Batman throws his button Arkham, he's like, that's part of the plan, you sucker. I can go window shopping and get a team together. That's brilliant. But he's not brilliant. He's a moron. I hate the casting so much. I can't go on.
I think Stefan could go another 20 minutes if we let him.
Someone get that man a paper bag, quick.
Let me tell you how I feel. It's bad. I found out in 2015-ish that he was cast, and I said, really? Blue from Rio is going to play Lex Luthor. I think, part of me thinks Zack Snyder watched Now You See Me and was like, brilliant! This guy's amazing! He's a genius.
Oh, okay, I gotta throw this out there to you guys. Just kind of a potential Lex Luthor. Two of them. Names are not coming to my head right now, so I'll just go ahead and say some of the people they played. J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, yes.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, thank you. I didn't want to say J.K. Simmons because I thought I was going to be wrong. And then also the guy who played in Split.
Oh, James McAvoy.
Oh, James McAvoy. Oh, yeah.
I think
that would have worked, especially with their idea of a Lex Luthor on his younger side. James McAvoy is older than Jesse Eisenberg, but not by a whole lot.
No, in fact, if you were to ask me who was older, I would think it was Jesse.
That we were talking about with the intimidation.
Right.
Yeah.
He can make himself look like, I'm a smart guy. And
right.
I kind of know what I'm doing physically.
And he could pull off being a dork. I mean, he could pull off 23 different personalities or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So why not? He could have been. Both of those are great.
Yeah.
Except for J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon.
But that didn't come till later.
Right.
Yeah. But back in the day.
And if I was to throw another person into the casting ring, other than that he would look a little weird, and that he's already in Marvel, but once again, I don't care about that too much, is I think Benedict Cumberbatch would have been a good Luthor just because of his voice.
He could have done a good job, yeah.
And he gives that air of intelligence really well, so he would have been a good choice, but he probably would look weird bald.
Right. You know, I think about like Mads Mikkelsen, but I don't want to see him bald.
No.
Idris Elba, I think, could have done a better job.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of
definitely.
There's so many people that could have done a good job, and
not to say that the one they had didn't do a good job. I mean, he's doing his job.
No, Jesse
But
Eisenberg.
it was just poor choice.
He's an Oscar-nominated actor. You know, when he's good, he's really good. I just don't like the direction that they took the character.
Right, right. And if we wanted a stuttering fool but was still charismatic, they should have just hired Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
In all honesty, he would have been. I think it would have been more entertaining to watch.
I mean,
look at him! He does the little black thing.
That would actually kind of work with some of his lines, like, you know, we have Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent. I love it. I love bringing people together. How are? Wow! You would not want to pick a fight with this man.
You would not want to pick a fight with this guy.
I'll tell you that.
How tall are you? You're like 7 foot tall. Wow.
I'm just imagining him as the character he played in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, he would just look at Superman. Yeah, he's pretty super, I gotta say. Not gonna
He's
lie.
pretty super.
But we know he can play intelligent, you know, really well. We can believe that he's a really smart guy. We watch him in Jurassic Park or The Fly.
Yep.
You know, even though he's weird and kind of off, you know, instantly, oh yeah, he's a totally smart guy. And even though he is weird and, you know, something's quirky about him, he's still incredibly charismatic.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been better with him. Wow.
So if our viewers would like to hear Stefan rant, there are 2 movies you can get him to completely rant and destroy. Batman vs.
Barbie
Superman.
Princess 2. Wait, what?
Wait, well, is there more?
No, that was a joke.
Yeah, that was a joke. Go
I
ahead.
like Barbie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Batman vs. Superman and The Last Jedi. He will...
I ranted too much about that movie. I lost a year of my life.
And we do actually have an episode on The Last Jedi when he just kind of goes all out on it.
Yep.
But if you want to hear him do a complete, like, angry nerd setup, we can make it work.
By this point, he's more like the old lady in Titanic, you know, like, it's been 84 years. I honestly think everyone is at this point.
Yeah.
I kind of lost my memory, kind of like that old lady, because I don't remember making a podcast about ranting. I do vaguely remember ranting for like a year, but that year is gone.
Hey, I'm going to look it up now. I'm going to look it up which episode it was.
All right, while you look it up, we'll let Stefan talk about his favorite and least favorite DCU movies.
Yes.
Well, I think we already know his least favorite.
Oh, well, you'd be wrong. Easily my favorite is Aquaman. Just gonna go out there. I remember when I saw the trailer and it had color and it wasn't so drab looking, so gray, muted. I was like, oh my goodness, look, a DC film with color. Kind of like, real life. Real life has color. I didn't think it would happen. It was amazing. I thought, wow, I must see this film. I must go to the movie theater. I must watch it. And I did. And I was so happy to see it. It was fun. It was really fun. Just a little side story for you all. When I lived in Australia for 2 years because I was a missionary. And when I came home, because you don't watch movies as a missionary, I came home and Batman vs. Superman was the second film I watched. And after you go around telling people about the good news and the gospel and all of that for 2 years, and then you go home and you watch Batman vs. Superman, it's a lot to take in, and it was kind of hard for me. And I was like, man, are they ever going to make a happy film ever again? There's cool stuff in there, but I don't know that it's a very joyless film. I think IMDb put that best. When you look at like why it's rated PG-13, they go over the reasons. It's like, this is a pretty joyless film. It's got like 2 parts of humor. And so for me, I was just kind of depressed by that. But when I watched Aquaman, I was like, wow, I was going to have a fun time. I can root for the hero, because superhero films, it's important to me that the hero is the best part of the film. The villain needs to be good, but if the villain outshines the hero, should we call it a superhero film? You could, but for me, the hero has to be the best part of the film. Jason Momoa is the best part of the film. Ocean Master is good as a villain. Black Manta is good as a villain. Lots of action, lots of exciting set pieces, globetrotting, love it. It's like the Indiana Jones of superhero films. Mm-hmm. So I like it a lot. You'll be surprised to know that it's not BVS. That's my least favorite. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but over time, a lot of it's grown on me. I obviously have problems with it, but there's some good stuff in there. My least favorite DCU film is Wonder Woman 84. We gathered around for Christmas, and we're like, we need to watch this film. I was the one who suggested, we need to watch this film. I heard the Hans Zimmer score. I thought, this is really great. It's on par with what I want. And, we get HBO, we watch it, and I felt like nothing happened. I was so frustrated. I was like, oh my gosh, 2.5 hours of my life where nothing happens. Like the first half of the film is like, well, we gotta establish everything instead of doing that in the first 20 minutes. And I felt like it was frustrating for me because I was really looking forward to this. And the first Wonder Woman was good. It was better than Catwoman and Captain Marvel and all those things. It was much better. It was a good superhero film. And then I watched the second one. There's nothing exciting to me. Nothing excites me. The little war of morals or morality, not exciting to me in this film. The little monkey's paw scenario, not exciting to me. The action, certainly not exciting to me. So for me, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't like it at all. I just remember everyone's like, "Are you all right, Stefan?" After I watched it, I was like, "No." and people, family members, they liked it. I was just like, "No, good for you. You liked it." I can't believe I suggested that because I was the one who suggested that. I did not enjoy it.
Another year of Stefan's life.
Well, luckily it's not a year because people don't love it like they did The Last Jedi, so you don't have to.
Right, people aren't going to argue about this movie till the end of time.
Yeah. Or that it was
another half year gone then.
So.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, to answer your question that you asked sarcastically, Robert, there is more than two, apparently. Here's another one he could just do a whole hour on.
There's 3.
Probably.
Pick number 3, my lord.
It's probably better to just watch some YouTuber rant about it on the channel. There's a million reviews that hate it. So.
That's true.
Yeah, but this is our channel.
We don't talk about those channels.
You want to hear Stefan rant? Let us know in the comments below.
For me, its biggest sin is
subscribe.
just being, forgettable. Like Stefan said, the action was not anything to home to write about. And at the end of the day, there was maybe 3 action scenes in it total, which, that in and of itself isn't a problem. The first Superman movie doesn't really have, doesn't have any fights at all. But it had great character work, great storytelling, all these other things. And so, there's just all these other things in the movie where like, okay, this isn't working. But that's okay if they do this. They didn't do it. Okay, well that's fine if this works. It didn't work. And for me, I really, really liked Maxwell Lord. I liked Pedro Pascal's performance as him. Didn't like the writing behind him as much, but his performance I thought really, really worked. And yeah, that's about it. I think Hans Zimmer's score was great. But when I think about the movie, I think about, Maxwell Lord saying, it was good, but it can be better. And I think to call it good would be generous. It's forgettable and fine at best, and, well, I want to forget it at worst.
There's no man's land scene.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal to me because that's something you remember. Whether you like the first one or not, it's like, okay, when she steps out there, you're going to remember that. The second one, what do you remember? The flying golden suit? Not better. None of it improved upon the first one, in my opinion. It copied the first one and was half half as good, and just lazy.
We need to have Stefan start ranting when we do mic checks, so we know that it's going to pick him up after all. But
get me fired up, and you'll hear me on the mic. Otherwise, I'm like Marlon Brando.
No, but seriously, I was one of the ones that came out thinking I liked it. But then the more that was revealed to me, the more I actually put some more thought into it. Because it does deceive you, because it is a flashy film. There is a lot of color. There is some fun moments, for sure. Good, humorous moments as well. But overall, I have to agree with my friends here. Not as good as the first one. Not as funny as Shazam. And Shazam's action, you could argue, is not the best in the DCEU. But it's still better than Wonder Woman 1984. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't trying to be better than any.
No, but it was just trying to do its own thing.
It was trying to do its own thing, but it still beat Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman! The woman is an Amazon. You know, she's a Greek.
The woman who's a wonder.
Yeah.
She's part of the DC Trinity.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the movie was forgettable.
It's like... It's the opposite effect of what should have happened with, like, Captain America. The first Captain America film, not very many people were like, oh, he needs to be in the Avengers. They were like, oh, he's a fun character, but he doesn't have to move over or anything like that. You know, he could just, die and it would be a heroic death. They see him in Avengers and they're like, he's okay, but he's not very good.
They joked about that in the honest trailers for the Avengers movie when they said, and here's Captain America, no one's favorite Avenger.
Exactly. But except me. And then you look
I didn't jump on that bandwagon. I was there the whole time.
And then you look at Winter Soldier and you're like, oh, he deserves to be in the top 3 for the current Avengers, or the top 4. And, it's because they made him cooler. And that's the problem with 1984 with Wonder Woman is, one, it's not it doesn't feel like a true sequel because it's still taking place before Justice League. I thought maybe the aesthetic of it being in the 80s would be, kind of a fun thing. But now that I look at it, I'm like, maybe they should have just put it as a sequel to Justice League like Aquaman was, because then they could work with more modern stuff and maybe could have her doing something cooler, because honestly, it limited them apparently.
Yeah, it's being in the 80s didn't add anything other than, hey, everyone likes the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. To go off of what Aaron was saying about how she needed to be cooler. How did she go from losing somebody to being jaded and cutting herself off to being goofy and more corny than ever?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. Like, why is she not more jaded and more cut off from the world and not running around in malls saving little girls from getting their legs broken from falling down? From criminals who are that stupid and bumbling. I mean, they went from... the tonal shift is bad. It's jarring to me because it's like, the first one is like, okay, here's a war film and we have some deep questions that we're asking in this film, and we have Diana growing up. And stop having these romantic notions about good and evil and all this stuff. And it's like, great, that's good. And then the next one, it's sappy and corny, and the bad guy gets away with it. I mean, what happens to Maxwell Lord? He runs off with his son. Goodness, it's... tone doesn't work! It's like going from drinking water and you're like, I know what to expect, and then somebody pours corn syrup in and you're like, oh, that's sappy, it's corny, it's sweetness and...
Did it almost hit Hallmark standards?
A few times.
A little bit.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. Which I didn't mind that... I didn't mind some of that, but it did get a little too repetitive. And it's true what Stefan is saying. It wasn't like Thor Ragnarok, which had very serious moments. But there is definitely a tonal shift. But that was okay because of the characters he was interacting with. If Lord Maxwell was more serious, like an immediate threat, then it would be completely different. But he's not. And, you know, using that Thor example, he's working with the Hulk, he's working with Valkyrie, and he has the Grand Master to deal with, along with Hela. I mean, and his father just died, and he found out his brother is still alive. I mean, that's a lot to work with. If you can't laugh at yourself a little bit, I don't know what you do. You probably go into a deep depression, which he eventually does.
There's also the fact that with Thor Ragnarok, they were coming right off of Thor the Dark World, which was not the most loved movie in the world. So they're kind of looking at this like, we need to shake things up a little. Wonder Woman was, you know, beloved by everyone. Everyone thought, like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever when it came out. And, you know, as time went on, you know, people's passions cooled and like, okay, no. Is it the greatest movie ever? No. But it's really, really good. And instead of doing what they did there and trying to build with it, they said, okay, but what if we did something like, you know, with none of that?
Yeah. You gotta make the second one better. Otherwise, the third one has to be better, like with Thor. But you think about most superhero sequels, usually the second one's the best. Spider-Man 2, The Winter Soldier, The Dark Knight. The list goes on. And it's like, you need to up the stakes. You need to make the character, you know, be challenged in a new way. She wasn't challenged in a new way. Sorry, folks. It's the same dang thing from the first one. And I don't feel bad when she spoiler, when she sacrifices her boyfriend again, or rather, he gives himself up and does the right thing. Whatever. It's all the same thing.
Chris, bye. Bye, Chris.
Yeah.
You're gonna die.
I'm done. I'm done.
All right, let's move on then. What about you, Robert?
Well, I would go into mine, but we are out of time.
Well, you haven't seen any of these movies, so that's okay.
Okay, no, I've seen Aquaman.
Okay. And you'll agree with us.
So,
And you've
okay,
seen Batman v
if you
Superman.
want to hear mine is, I like Man of Steel and The Dark Knight.
Great movie.
Those are my, I was trying to pick between those two while you guys were talking about the movies I haven't seen.
Have you seen Justice League?
Yeah, I've seen Justice League and that terrible.
Well, that can be your
CGI
least
mouth.
favorite then.
There you go.
that's. Yeah, I would say that. No. See, most of the DC ones I've watched are because I really wanted to watch them.
Right.
So I think the least one would probably be Batman versus Superman, but I still I didn't really dislike it.
Gotcha.
There is a lot to like in it. I
was just kind of meh about it compared to the other ones. I know Man of Steel was kind of slow, but I actually did kind of enjoy the pacing to it.
Right.
For me,
Right.
personally.
Yeah, it did take its time.
But the reason why I was saying we should probably end it while we're going to be out of time is because we are approaching an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we've been trying to do, for those who don't know, we're trying to do 45 minutes now. That didn't work.
It's okay. You take out the part where you interrupted me. It should be a little shorter.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you know, I just realized. All right, wait a second. Hold up. No, we're good. We're good on time.
Okay.
Because I forget. We start the recording before we actually do the episode. So we
Get a
can
little
sync
behind
up
the scenes on
audio
this.
and do all stuff. So, yeah, that was happening.
Cool.
So we can do a quick discuss. I mean, I do actually have to go somewhere.
Okay.
But I'm not missing out. But if we want to talk about Man of Steel, because that one we haven't really talked about.
Yeah. Take the lead.
Speak.
Black Sheep. You said speak. You didn't tell me exactly what to say. I think I liked how they built Superman up in Man of Steel. Because, like, usually, most of the movies that I've seen, it's like everyone already knows who Superman is, so they're just going to jump right into it. Whereas for that, you actually kind of get to see the progress of him, like, trying to learn his powers and trying to learn his place. Actually, since this is going to be released next Monday, I can go ahead and say this. Last Wednesday, when you're watching this, last Wednesday, during Stefan's pitch stop about Superman, he was talking about how Superman would end up on this other planet. If you haven't seen it, go check it. But I feel like Man of Steel kind of has that setup of here's all these humans, like, who the freak are these people? And if Stefan's movie pitch idea were to actually come true, that would fit really well into it. But, I mean, I love the soundtrack. I love the CGI. I do like Zod.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I just like finally we get to see the build-up of Superman, like when he's a kid, trying to learn, like, control his powers, how it's just kind of all over the place at first for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to see him kind of bounce around different places trying to find work and keep below the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally
kind of help where he can, but then leave when people might start getting suspicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because he's just like, I just want to be a normal guy. I don't really want these powers.
Mm.
Then he finds out what they are, and he's like, okay, I guess I need these powers and wear hope around on my chest.
Right. You know,
which I did find that kind of funny. I was like, that's ridiculous, but okay, we'll go with it.
I do think that's something that Man of Steel doesn't get enough praise for is, you know, a lot of people say, you know, it's not a Superman movie. It's kind of, you know, his origin story, building him up so we can get Superman later. And while I think there's some truth to that, it also does kind of lay the groundwork for who Clark is. And so we get to care about him as a person, not just a guy who's good at punching people through buildings.
Right. And the biggest misconception, I hate this from Kill Bill, is that Superman is always Superman. You know, even when he takes off the outfit, that he's always Superman, and then never Clark Kent, that Clark Kent is his disguise. Well, no, that's so stupid, because that's like saying, you know, the Flash is always still the Flash, even when he takes off his outfit, but that's not true.
Like, Batman is always Batman. Bruce Wayne is the disguise.
Yeah. Well, and that's how it is because of his psychological means. But for those other superheroes, you know, Superman, he is Clark Kent 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. It is because of Clark Kent that he wants to be better. It's because of his father that he wants to be better. Both his fathers. Mm-hmm. And his mother's, I would add, that he wants to go out and save the world and do good things. And that's something that people misunderstand is, oh, he has all these superpowers, so what's even the threat? Well, the threat is if he messes up, millions can die. The whole world can fail. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not a physical threat to him, but it can be a physical threat to others. And he's not perfect. He's still a human being. The act is that he is a perfect being as Superman, as much as he can be. But the truth is he's an American boy from Kansas, and on a small farm that's just trying to make his way in life just like the rest of us. But he just happens to have these powers that allow him to do just enough to help everyone else. And that, to me, is why I like Man of Steel. It touches on that quite a bit. I do wish they didn't film in such a darker look to it, but it doesn't change the message that, you know, if you were given those abilities, would you do the same thing? I hope I would. I hope I wouldn't be the selfish one. And that, to me, is more intriguing than just given all this power and deciding to do evil with it, which is what Zod initially does.
And one thing that I do really appreciate about Man of Steel is the fact that he didn't give himself the name Superman.
Yeah.
The people did. So he is 100% Clark Kent. He's just like, I'm here to do what I need to do. And then the public was like, this man needs a superhero name. Get him a cape. Yep. And they gave him the name Superman because the hope on his chest.
Right.
Again, I don't get it. But okay.
And then I do have to say, as much as, you know, some people complain about there being too much collateral damage in this movie, and while I disagree, that's a discussion for another time. Something that I would hope everyone can agree on is that it was pretty awesome basically watching live-action Dragon Ball Z, but done well.
Yes.
You know, not just these people are super strong, but the speed at which they fight each other. The fact that they're actually using martial arts on each other, but you watch how their strength and speed affects that, it was incredible.
Yeah, it's. I liked the movie. I saw it when I was 17. I just remember some people were saying it's not that good and all that stuff. I said, at least Superman's not fighting a rock. in this film.
Yeah.
He fights the big three, and it's not cheesy. The big three Kryptonians, and it's not cheesy special effects. It's not fighting the weather or catastrophes. He's fighting his equals, and there are stakes. But he's a tough son of a gun, and that's the way Superman is. He keeps getting back up. He keeps fighting. He keeps fighting for what's right. So when people say that Superman is too close to a god, I just have to say, imagine being God, but the catch is you don't have control over everything.
Yep.
You will fail.
You're as powerful, but you're not as perfect. What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, even so, he's not even, like, I would still say he's demigod tier, because he can't be everywhere at once.
No.
Otherwise, he would have been taking out the world engine as well as Zod's ship and the other Zod, the other ship that Zod's driving.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't do that. He still has limits.
Yeah, absolutely.
He would need the freaking Justice League in order to do all that.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean, my least favorite we pretty much talked about anyways.
Mm.
Stefan did a great job on it. Well, thank you for watching. Please, subscribe. Jed. Oh, I was waiting for you to do it.
You gotta say
Smash that like button.
He said it. I refuse to say it. That's why I have Jed.
I'm the Patsy.
Subscribe,
I'm the fall
comment.
guy.
You could say he's the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
So, please leave a comment. You can also, if you would like to, and you want to listen to the audio version, head over to anchor.fm / that's the one I'm looking for, the-WOC. I'll have all the links down below. You can look at our Patreon and all that stuff. This next pitch stop will be me. I'll be doing a pitch on, I'm actually changing it. I'm not really doing Batman. It's going to be more about Red Hood.
All right.
So I'm kind of excited, but stay tuned for my pitch stop next week. And we'll also have another one of these episodes releasing next Monday. So, thank you.